If something disrupted everyday life tomorrow, a storm, supply shortages, power outage, losing your income, or worse, how long would your household actually be comfortable? 3 days? A week? Most Americans have less than 3 days of supplies at home. That means when something goes wrong, most families are instantly in crisis mode. And that's exactly why preparedness matters. The good news is getting started is actually much easier than most people think. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most important areas to focus on first, so you can start becoming more prepared right away, even if you're starting from zero and even if money is tight. And stick around till the end because I'm also going to show you the biggest mistake that new preppers make that wastes a lot of money. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Preparedness can feel overwhelming when you're first getting started. There are a million lists online, people are arguing about gear, and it can feel like you're already behind before you even begin. So today, I want to simplify it. If you're brand new to prepping, these are the 5 areas you should focus on first that will make the biggest difference for your household. The first thing that every household should focus on is water. Most people underestimate how quickly a water problem becomes serious. You can survive weeks without food, but only a few days without water. A good starting goal is 1 gallon per person per day for at least 2 weeks. For a family of 4, that's about 56 gallons of water. Now, the good news is this doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. You can start with simple things like store-bought water jugs, reused soda bottles, water bricks, or even large food-grade containers. Some people also fill clean 2-liter bottles and rotate them every 6 months. The key is simply having water stored so that if the tap stops working, you're not scrambling. Once you have stored water, the next step is backup filtration. Something like a gravity water filter or a portable purifier can give you access to water from lakes, streams, rain, or other sources. A good water filter does not have to be expensive. There's some really good ones that are very affordable. Water is always priority number 1 because without it, everything else becomes a problem very quickly. Another thing that people don't always think about with water is how much our daily routines depend on it. We're not just talking about drinking water. You use water to cook, to wash dishes, to brush your teeth, to clean surfaces in your home, to flush your toilets, and take care of basic personal hygiene. When water stops flowing, all of those normal routines start breaking down very quickly. That's why having a small water reserve at home makes such a huge difference. Even if it's just a couple weeks of stored water, it gives you time to think clearly and figure out your next steps instead of scrambling and competing with everyone else at the store. Preparedness is really about buying yourself time and stability when everyone else is reacting emotionally. The second area to focus on is food storage. This is where a lot of people get overwhelmed. They see pictures of huge prepper pantries online and assume that they need a year's worth of food right away. You don't. The best place to start is by building a 30-day food buffer. And that simply means having enough shelf-stable food in your house that you could comfortably eat for a month without having to go to the grocery store. This can include things like canned vegetables, soups, chili, pasta, rice, beans, oats, peanut butter, and other foods that your family already eats. Every time you buy something that you normally use, just grab 1 extra. If you buy a can of soup, get 2. If you buy pasta, grab an extra box. Over time, your pantry grows without it feeling expensive. Another great option is freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried foods can last 25 years or more, and they take up relatively little space. They're especially useful for long-term food storage or emergency situations where you need meals that last a long time. Another important thing with food storage is making sure that you store foods your family will actually eat. This might sound obvious, but a lot of people buy large amounts of food that they've never tried before simply because it's marketed as prepper food. Then when they finally open it during an emergency, they find out the hard way that nobody in their house really wants to eat it. All right, meal number 5.
That's real bad.
A much better approach is building your emergency food supply around meals that your household already enjoys. If your family eats pasta, store extra pasta. If you eat rice, store rice. If you eat soups, chili, or canned meats, store those. When you store foods that are already a part of your normal diet, rotating your supplies becomes easy and nothing goes to waste. This is also why I love freeze-dried food so much. At first, I was skeptical, of course, and even when I got my very first order, I wasn't about to open those cans. Even if I did, I didn't know the first thing about what to do with it, but over the years, I've opened a lot of these cans. I use it in my everyday cooking, I use it to make meals in a jar, and we even keep a lot of it around just for snacking on dry. It's pretty amazing. Preparedness should support your normal life, not create a whole separate system that feels unnatural. Keep this in mind, especially when it comes to your food storage plan. One thing that people often forget about when building food storage is how they're actually going to cook it if the power goes out for an extended period of time. Your kitchen stove and your microwave may not work, and even foods that don't require cooking are a lot easier to deal with when you can heat water or warm up a meal. That's why having a simple backup cooking method is a really important part of preparedness. This can be something as simple as a small camp stove, a butane stove, which is my favorite, or a propane camping burner. They're inexpensive, they're easy to store, and they allow you to boil water, cook simple meals, and make things like soups, rice, pasta, or freeze-dried foods. Heating water alone becomes incredibly valuable in an emergency. Even something as simple as being able to make a hot meal or a cup of coffee can make a stressful situation feel a lot more manageable. An emergency cooking burner allows you to cook or heat food, sanitize water, clean dishes, make coffee, and prepare many shelf-stable foods that only require hot water. Just make sure that if you're using a propane, butane, or really any other type of emergency stove, you're using it safely and in a well-ventilated area. Do your own research about what is safe to use indoors and what should be used outdoors, or at least in a semi-enclosed outdoor space. And when indoors, always have a carbon monoxide detector nearby. Having even a basic backup stove gives you the ability to keep feeding your household normally, even if the power's out for days or weeks. And that's a big part of what preparedness is really about: maintaining normal life when systems fail. One of the questions I get all the time is how people can afford to build up a food storage and preparedness supplies in the first place. We'll talk about one strategy that has helped a lot of families with that in just a few minutes. But let me quickly recap the first two priorities because these are the most important. Number one, water, and number two, food. If you get these two areas handled, you are already ahead of the majority of households. The third area that you need to turn your attention to is light and basic power. When the power goes out, the house becomes difficult to function in very quickly. Suddenly, you can't see, your phone starts dying, and simple tasks become frustrating. Start simple. Every household should have multiple flashlights, extra batteries, a few lanterns, and phone battery banks. Even something as simple as a rechargeable lantern can make a big difference during an outage. Some people also add small solar chargers or portable power stations that can keep phones, radios, or small devices running. The fourth area to focus on for basic preparedness is medical supplies and everyday household essentials. During disruptions, everyday items disappear from stores very quickly. We saw this during the pandemic when simple things like toilet paper, cleaning supplies, and over-the-counter medications suddenly became hard to find. Things like medications, hygiene products, soap, toothpaste, bandages, pain relievers, and cleaning supplies are all things that we use daily, but most households don't keep enough on hand. Building even a 2 to 3 month buffer of these items can make your household far more resilient. And honestly, this is one of the easiest areas to prepare for because these are items you're already buying anyways. Now here's something that doesn't get talked about enough in the preparedness world: financial preparedness. Emergencies don't always look like natural disasters or nuclear war. Sometimes they look like job loss, unexpected bills, or economic downturn. Having even a small emergency fund can make a huge difference in those situations. But there's another side to this that more people are exploring. Instead of just cutting expenses, many families are building small additional income streams from home. Not massive businesses or complicated projects, just simple ways to bring in extra money that can go directly towards preparedness supplies, food storage, paying down debt, or creating a solid cushion. Even a few $100s a month can slowly build a much stronger financial safety net for your household. I get the question all the time: how can anyone even afford to build a stockpile? And with prices going up on just about everything, that can make preparedness feel harder than it should be. When I started buying extra, I really probably shouldn't have. financially speaking, but I made preparedness a priority because I believed it mattered. And one of the things that our family started doing several years ago was looking for ways to turn our normal household spending into something that actually works for us. Because think about it. Every household already buys things like cleaning supplies, laundry soap, vitamins, personal care products, snacks, all of the everyday stuff that you use constantly. Instead of just buying those things at the store like we always had, we started using a system that lets us get better products for the house while also earning income by sharing them with other families. It's a win-win no matter how you slice it. And what surprised me the most is how many people in this community are already doing something similar. They're not trying to build some huge business. They're simply using it as a way to offset grocery bills, fund their food storage, and pay for preparedness supplies. For some families, it covers a few $100s a month, and for others, it ends up being quite a bit more. But either way, it turns everyday spending into something that actually helps strengthen your household instead of draining it. So if you're someone who likes the idea of building preparedness without having to pull everything out of your normal budget, this can be a really powerful tool. I've put a link below where you can learn about how it works. If it's something that you think could help your household, you can explore it there and see if it makes sense for you. Another advantage of having additional income streams is flexibility during uncertain times. When disruptions happen, the biggest stress that many households face isn't necessarily food shortages or power outages, it's financial pressure. Unexpected bills, layoffs, reduced work hours, or rising costs can strain families very quickly. Having even a modest secondary income stream can create breathing room in those situations. It might cover groceries for the month, pay for fuel, help build your food storage faster, or allow you to pay down debt. That kind of financial flexibility is actually a huge part of preparedness that doesn't get talked about enough. Preparedness isn't only about the supplies sitting on your shelves. It's also about building systems that make your household stronger and more adaptable over time. A lot of people in the community have been doing this with me for a while now, working with me directly, and it's been really, really cool to see them helping others and being rewarded for it. Because preparedness isn't just about stockpiling supplies, it's about building a household that is stronger, more resilient, and more self-reliant over time. And sometimes that starts with simply changing how we handle the things we're already buying every month. It doesn't have to break the bank, and it certainly doesn't have to be overwhelming. And by the way, if you're watching videos like this and thinking about preparedness at all, you are already ahead of most people. Remember earlier when I mentioned the biggest mistake that new preppers make? Here it is. They try to buy everything all at once. That usually leads to buying the wrong gear, wasting money, and feeling overwhelmed. They buy cheap buckets full of subpar meals and think they're all set. They buy cheap gear that's not dependable, thinking it could save their life someday. And they buy all kinds of things that are advertised as being great, but the real world reviews tell a different story. The better approach is slow and steady. A few extra supplies each week, a little more food storage every month. Stock up on foods that you would choose to eat, that you can rotate through. Stock gear and supplies that you know are reliable and that you have tried and tested yourself. Preparedness is not a one-week project. It's a lifestyle shift that happens gradually. Every month your pantry grows, every month you add a few supplies, and every month you become a little more resilient. Eventually you reach a point where if something happens, anything, storms, shortages, disruptions, you're not panicking like everyone else. You're prepared, and that peace of mind is really what preparedness is all about. If you're just getting started, don't overthink it. Focus on the basics: water, food, light and power, household essentials, and financial resilience. Build those areas step by step, and you'll already be far ahead of most households. If you want more practical preparedness videos like this, food storage, emergency planning, and self-reliance, make sure to subscribe. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a bullseye emoji in the comments below. And if you're curious about how we've been able to turn everyday household purchases into an extra income stream, there's a link below where you can learn exactly how it works and see if it might make sense for your household. And now YouTube is going to suggest another one of my videos right up here that you'd probably really enjoy. So check that out next. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.